Being home alone is supposed to be peaceful, a chance to enjoy solitude and silence. But sometimes that silence hides something sinister, and 3 true horror stories prove just how terrifying it can be when you realize you are not as alone as you thought. First is the chilling case of a teenage girl in Ohio in 2008. Left home alone one night while her parents went out for dinner. She settled in with popcorn and a movie, the house creaking in the stormy wind outside when she suddenly heard footsteps upstairs. Slow and deliberate, pausing between each step. Her first thought was that she left a window open and the wind was rattling things around, but then she remembered she had just been in her room minutes earlier, and everything was shut tight. Trying to calm herself, she muted the TV and listened, the sound of pacing clearly coming from the second floor. Summoning courage, she called her mom, who told her to immediately dial 911 and hide. She crouched inside a closet, gripping the phone as muffled thuds grew louder. The police arrived 12 minutes later to find a man hiding under her bed with a knife, later identified as a drifter who had broken in earlier through the basement window and was waiting for her parents to leave. The officers told her had she gone upstairs to check the noise, she may not have survived, a horrifying reality that forever tainted her sense of safety at home. The second story comes from California in 1993. When a young mother named Evelyn left her 8-year-old son home alone for just a few hours while she worked a night shift, the boy, excited for the independence, played video games in the living room until he noticed movement outside the sliding glass door that led to the backyard. Thinking it was the neighbor's dog, he ignored it until a face pressed against the glass, an unfamiliar man grinning as rain trickled down the window. Terrified, the boy ran to the phone, but the line went dead, cut from outside. He hid under the couch, clutching his toy bat as the man tried the locked door, tapping the glass slowly with what looked like a screwdriver, whispering words the boy couldn't make out through the storm. Just as the intruder began prying at the lock, headlights flooded the driveway. Evelyn had returned early due to a shift change. The man fled into the darkness, never caught, but police later confirmed phone lines had been deliberately severed, proof that this was a planned break-in. And the thought of what might have happened if she'd been just 10 minutes later haunted Evelyn and her son for years, a reminder of how fragile safety can be. The third true story happened in Australia in 2016 when a university student named Claire was home alone studying late into the night, her roommates away for the weekend. Rain tapping against the windows and thunder rolling in the distance, she kept hearing faint scratching sounds coming from the attic, dismissing it as mice until around 2 a.m. when she heard a heavy dragging noise directly above her ceiling. Heart pounding, she grabbed a broom and poked the ceiling hatch but saw nothing, deciding to ignore it. She returned to her desk only to suddenly hear the attic ladder creak open on its own. Frozen in terror, she stared as a pale, barefoot man descended halfway down the ladder. Before noticing her, eyes wide, muttering incoherently, Claire bolted out the front door into the rain and called police from a neighbor's house. When officers searched the property, they found evidence the man had been secretly living in the attic for weeks. Empty food wrappers, a sleeping bag, and stolen clothing from Claire and her roommates. He had been using the house whenever they were gone, and on that stormy night he decided to come down while assuming the house was still empty. Claire never returned to live there, saying she could never again feel safe in her own space after realizing someone had been silently watching from above, waiting. When you put these 3 accounts together, the Ohio girl who unknowingly had a knife-wielding intruder under her bed, the California boy whose would-be attacker cut the phone lines and taunted him through the sliding glass door, and the Australian student forced to confront the horrifying truth that a stranger was secretly living in her attic, it becomes clear that being home alone isn't always just an exercise in courage, but can spiral into real-life nightmares, showing how the places we believe most safe can turn into cages of fear, and how the most terrifying monsters are not always supernatural, but flesh and blood strangers who lurk in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to step into the silence.